This is Viper Bites, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group, and we're going to continue talking about fantasy football dynasty assets here, and we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys here in just a second. But before we do, head over to fantasypoints.com, enter promo code VIPERS22, and get yourself 10% off that Fantasy Points subscription. Trust me, you will not regret that decision. What else you're not going to regret is betting on Dak Prescott in 2022 and beyond. Forget his end-of-the-year season totals and focus on his fantasy points per game production. In 6 seasons, Prescott has finished no worse than QB 14, and in 4 of those 6 seasons, Prescott has been a top 10 fantasy option at quarterback as far as points per game is concerned. While Prescott has lost some receiving options there, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, the Cowboys, they still have plenty of skill at those skill positions there for Prescott to spread the ball around. Prescott's 68.8% completion percentage in 2021 was the 4th best among quarterbacks to attempt at least 350 passes, while his 62.4% completion percentage inside the red zone, that was the 2nd best number. He also threw the 7th most passing yards, 4,449. I think it's safe to assume he will still have more than a few good years ahead of him here, especially as quarterbacks' longevity seems to continue year in and year out. Now, one reason why I'm so high on Dak Prescott is because he's still got those weapons there, primarily in CD Lamb. When you're looking at consensus rankings here, wide receiver 3 currently belongs to CD Lamb. With the departure of Cooper and Wilson there, the Cowboys are left with 214 vacated targets, which works out to about 32% of the targets from a season ago. And we know that Dallas is going to want to throw the ball. That is great news for CD Lamb, who was targeted 121 times last season, hauling in 79 of those targets for 1,102 yards. With more opportunities, Lamb will look to rebound from that wide receiver 22 number they posted from a year ago that saw him limited to 14.6 fantasy points per game. Looking at Lamb's production to date, you will see that only 7 receivers in the history of the NFL had more than Lamb's 2,037 yards prior to turning to 23 years of age. Perhaps the biggest takeaway is that Cooper saw 20% of the Cowboys' targets in the red zone in 2021 compared to Lamb's modest 11%. With more looks in the red zone, Lamb will look to increase those touchdown numbers, which means more fantasy production. Yes, please. Now, at the running back position, you have Ezekiel Elliott there. He is still going off as the RB25 per expert rankings here, the 64th ranked player overall per those same experts. Elliott needed an extra week last season, but he got his 4th 1,000 rushing yard season in 6 years. Elliott has also been a factor in the receiving game there, recording 250 receiving yards in each season as a pro, which has aided him into 6 consecutive 1,200 scrimmage yard campaigns. Some may argue that Elliott's best days are behind him, but as long as Jerry Jones is paying him good money, Jerry Jones is going to ensure that Elliott is going to continue to get that ball. Elliott is being challenged for touches by a younger Tony Pollard there, who has been averaging 3.8 yards after contact compared to Elliott's 2.7. Look for most of the fantasy football worry to pass on Elliott, while Elliott slowly continues to put together his best Frank Gore impression. Now, IDPers, I am not going to forget about you because Micah Parsons is a dog out there. He is a different breed altogether. Parsons, he lines up everywhere. Look at that rookie season. He finished with 84 tackles and 13 sacks. That's what you call an IDP dream season, and he is just getting started. Parsons was absolutely robbed of Defensive Player of the Year award last year. He will not be denied again. Trust me on this one. Let's run down a short list of his accolades. We talked about his sacks. We talked about his tackles. Well, he also had 30 QB hits and 20 tackles for loss. Those 13 sacks, they broke Aldon Smith's rookie record of 11, while those 30 tackles for loss were more than what Levante David did during his rookie campaign back in 2012. If there is a player who can break Michael Strahan and TJ Watt's sack record of 22.5, it's Parsons. Now, we got one more spot on this top 5, and we could have gone with Jalen Tolbert there. We could have gone with Tony Pollard there, but let's give Michael Gallup his due. He is currently going off as the wide receiver 48 per expert rankings, which has him at about the 112th player in those rankings. Tony Pollard, like I said, just missed this cut. If you have to have him above Michael Gallup, you're totally justified in doing so. I could see a world in which Tony Pollard has more fantasy value than Michael Gallup. But Gallup gains the advantage here because as long as Elliott is getting paid, he's going to continue to get fed. That said, Gallup moves up as the second option with the departure of Amari Cooper, with the departure of Cedric Wilson in a highly explosive passing attack opposite of CeeDee Lamb. In 2 games Gallup played when Cooper was unavailable last year, he would go on to see 18 targets. So you know he is going to get peppered early when he's available. Now that said, he is going to take a while to get back. He's not going to be there right away in 2022, recovering from that ACL injury. This is more of a looking towards the future type thing. Gallup being on this list, we're looking at 3 to 4 seasons down the road, which I think is where you're going to see Michael Gallup, where he has the most value. We know there's plenty of options here in Dallas for fantasy. We just talked about those 5. We added in Tony Pollard. I mean, Jalen Tolbert, there's another guy there as well that you can trust for this Dallas Cowboys moving forward. Plenty of options here. Dalton Schultz. We didn't even talk about Dalton Schultz, especially in what this wasteland of the tight end position is. So you know the Dallas Cowboys, they are going to be explosive. They're going to put points on the board, not just this season, not just next season, but 2 to 3 seasons down the road. If you want to continue to look down the road, head to fantasypoints.com because they've got you covered for dynasty rankings, long-term solutions here. And all you got to do to save some money is use promo code Vipers22. And I guarantee you are not going to regret that decision. Also, if you're watching us here on the Vipers Network, take a second, hit that thumbs up, hit that notification button, and make sure you are subscribed because we got plenty more content coming your way. We'll see you next time.